pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next order of business is public. Yeah, you're getting there. Right? Step right up, buddy. I didn't even get it out.
I'm getting to that age where I write notes to myself and then I forget what I did with them.
Okay.
Several comments. One is that WAVM once again made a large impact on the Beacon Santa Fund to the tune of $37,000, and I think the kids should get some accolades for that. Also, I've had people coming into my place and making kind of comments about the parade.
Okay.
And the comment is primarily, number one, the parade was held at night. And as I've said for a number of years now, the lighting in downtown Maynard stinks. I wouldn't allow my wife to go down there at night when she was alive because it's not conducive. You go to other towns and the main thoroughfares are lit up bright and cheerful. Also, I don't know whether our chief had any input into the parade route or how it was conducted, but they had cars parked on both sides of the street along the parade route, so people had to come out from between the cars, which was not a very safe thing to do. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I also asked at one time for a ruling on a conflict of interest. Hopefully the town council would favor me with one, and I haven't seen that yet. I also...
You're talking about on the water thing still?
Beg your pardon?
You're still talking about Stantec? The water?
Citizens petition, what are you talking about?
The water? No, you're talking about the water?
No, I'm talking about the engineering.
Yeah,
firm.
engineering for the water, Stantec.
Yeah, okay.
So you're looking for something in writing from the town council?
Well, I can't see how you can serve two masters, but that's my opinion.
All right.
And my opinion is probably different than what town council's would be if she favors me with an opinion, or you tell her to favor me with an opinion.
She's favored us with an opinion, and if you'd like us to have her put in writing for you, we'll do that as well.
Well, anyway, also, have we received notice from the Attorney General's office on the proceedings at the special town meeting, that they were all hunky-dory and all that good stuff?
I don't think we've got it back yet.
I'm confused.
Well, they have to,
Non-binding resolution.
yeah, will we? Will we not get anything back?
I'm confused. So I will check if our town clerk submitted the results to the Attorney General's office, but our counsel is that I will find out.
You mean town clerk has, and this is no reflection on town clerk, but I've noticed over a number of years that the town clerk is very tardy in presenting the material to the Attorney General's office for them to review.
Okay.
Yeah, he is
And
correct about that,
I
Greg.
don't know what the time limit is. There used to be a time limit after the meeting that had to be submitted. Okay?
But again, it's
And
a non-binding question.
It doesn't matter, you still have to submit it.
the other thing I'd like to say is I hope you all have a healthy, happy, and prosperous new year. And, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the privilege.
Thanks, Vic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comment?
Crying out loud. It ain't dead for that.
Listen, that was a short one. Does anybody have any other public comments this evening, other than Vic's? Okay, public comments are done for the night. Next, we have some minutes to accept. The minutes are for a meeting that was held on December 4th, 2018. And I make a motion that we move to accept and approve the meeting minutes of December 4th, 2018 as shown. To a second.
Second.
Anybody have any comments or questions about the minutes? Okay, all's in favor? All right, thank you. Next up, we have a candidate for the Conservation Commission. And we see Caitlin is here, and so is the candidate. Okay, the motion is that we move to appoint Christopher J. Butler to the Conservation Commission with a term expiring on June 30th, 2020. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. How are you doing?
Good, how are you, sir?
Good, thanks. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Butler based on his information that he's provided us already?
What leads you to be interested in Conscom? Just in general, why are you interested?
Well, I'm new to the town. I just moved here in July with my wife and 2 sons, so I'm just looking to get to help the town out wherever I can. So this was an avenue to do so. So protect the wetlands and other natural resources we have around Maynard.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you've been to a couple of the meetings, is that what I saw?
Yes. Yep.
And you still want to do it? No, I'm kidding.
New firehouse, so that's good.
I'm hoping.
My only comment is I see, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, but I see you're a Marine veteran.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Almost my neighbor, I think, just a couple of streets over. I apologize for the dogs barking all day. So every time I walk by. But, does anybody else, any questions? No, I see that the Conservation Commission has recommended that we approve you in their letter to us. So, if we don't have any more questions, we'll vote on the appointment. All those in favor? Again, thank you, and thank you for volunteering.
And thank you again for serving.
Thank you.
We're just now turning you over to Caitlin.
Thanks.
Now, is that it now? Are you, excellent.
Full?
See, you don't waste time.
Yes. Okay. So there's really, does anybody object if we go out of order and get to the host community agreement with Green Star Herbals Inc., since they're all here, and the rest is just kind of housekeeping business?
Sure.
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna skip to you guys since you're here.
Oh, it's different than the other ones? Oh, yeah.
I don't have it.
I got one. Yeah, I think I got this
I
last
didn't
week.
get, I didn't get last week's. We were one short.
I want to have 2 of them, so I need 2 of them.
Thank you.
I have one at home, but that's okay. I can
Same
follow
one?
it. Yeah. Thank
Hey, everyone.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We're not getting any handouts here in the audience.
Hey, you can borrow ours. It's got to be a PowerPoint, just so you know, Vic.
It's gonna be up there. Everything we have, you'll be able to view.
I can give mine to you because I have it electronically.
Okay. Floor is yours, gentlemen.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to you and your colleagues. On behalf of Mr. Maury, Green Star Herbals, and the executive team that's here this evening, we want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you. Thank you for the open door that the community has provided us over the course of the last few months, and for also the opportunity to, fingers crossed, to open up our facility in the not-too-distant future. With that, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Joe Giannino, and I do a variety of public affairs-related matters for Mr. Maury and Green Star Herbals. Having been a local public official myself and understanding the interest of time in the agenda, we wanted to be and present a little bit of an abridged version of what it is that we presented to you in the form of paper and on the screen. But I think, again, to make this as brief as possible, I think if it's okay with you, we'd like to sort of divide some of our presentation up into 4 different areas. So security and safety, which is always the most overriding consideration and concern that folks have relative to an adult use marijuana facility. Site overview, the economic benefit and local employment opportunities, and then really open it up to you folks for any potential questions that you may have. To my right is Tom Morey, who is the president and CEO, owner of the company. So maybe Tom, you want to shift your words?
Great. Good evening, everyone. Again, I appreciate you having us all here. I just want to give you a little background on myself. I'm a local guy. I grew up in Hudson, went to college in Massachusetts, was part of a company, Cabletron Systems. I went out, ran the West Coast operations for them. It was kind of a startup type company. So the company was very successful. We grew it. So I think I can provide a lot of management experience and expertise. I live locally now in Boxborough. I'm a family man. I got 3 boys are in high school. The one thing I want to stress to you guys is that I'll be a hands-on owner. It'll be professionally run. We envision a really a high-end boutique style. We believe the site we picked is great. Jimmy's going to go into more detail there, but we felt it was very imperative to meet all our safety criteria, meet our parking criteria, make it the most unintrusive operation we could for the town. So again, we went in, we bought a building that is much bigger than we need, but we anticipate a demand in this area, and we want to be prepared to be able to have a safe environment for the town. And so again, thank you for your time. And I'm very accessible. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call.
One question, just on the, what is Sanctuary?
A Sanctuary is okay.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Alex. I'm a real estate consultant for Tom Morey. Sanctuary is a vertically integrated medical marijuana operator, and they have an operation in Littleton, Mass, cultivation and processing. And that's where Tom will be getting his product.
Okay, thank you.
And so do you have any more questions, Mr. Chairman?
No, it was just that's the only thing I saw in reading his page. I
Right.
wasn't sure what Sanctuary meant, so.
And so with that, we have our Director of Security, Mike Allen, who's a former police chief, and he's really here to answer questions, but also present to you sort of the way that we've approached our entire interaction with the community and with the town, and Chief of Police in particular, is in a very proactive way, recognizing that we put our best foot forward to ensure that we check all the boxes that the state requires us to, but in interacting with the local police department and local municipal officials, we wanted to make sure that we integrate whatever it is that you suggest that you'd like to add to it into it. So with that, is Mike Allen, our Director of Security.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Mike Allen, and I'm the Director of Security for Green Star Herbals. I've been involved now in the industry for about 2 years. I retired as a police officer at the end of 2016. I spent 30 years with the Rochester, New Hampshire Police Department, my last 5 being as the Chief of Police there. And I've had the opportunity to approach this industry from 2 different perspectives. So when I was a police chief, I had a cultivation facility open up in my community in Rochester, New Hampshire. What I saw during the time that I was police chief and prior to my retirement, we never had an issue with the location. Never had a call for service there, never had a complaint about the facility at all. So a lot of the fears and trepidation that I had originally as a police officer simply never materialized during my time in Rochester. And so when I retired and got involved in the industry, I now have been involved in multiple facility design, security design systems in facilities, throughout the state of Massachusetts. I've worked for multiple operators as a consultant. So I've got about 2 years of experience designing these facilities, looking at it from a security standpoint through the lens of a law enforcement officer, as well as a public official, what a public official would look at. So we really put a lot of time and energy into the design of the security system. Obviously, security and safety is always a big concern in any community, and it's our #1 concern as well. So one of the first things I did was meet with your police chief, Chief Dubois, and we had a discussion about the proposed facility. I have drafted a security plan along with the drawings, and I know the chief has had the opportunity to review those, and I'm sure he can speak to that. I know he's here tonight if there are any concerns from his perspective. But we really, the security for these facilities are first class and really designed to protect not just the staff and the patrons of the facility, but the community. So we put in a very sophisticated video surveillance system in the facility, an electronic access control system. We have a very secure transportation process, which is done from the cultivation site where we get our product to the facility. We have alarm systems there, and all those things are listed there. And one last thing is our electronic ID verification scanner. So whenever someone comes into the facility, they have to present a valid form of identification to the dispensary agent, but that identification is also verified through this electronic ID verification system to ensure that someone who may try to attempt to get in with a fake ID or an altered ID, that system is designed to pick up on, and it has a very high success rate. So we've really spent a lot of time and energy developing the security plan for this building, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have related to that. Like I said, I know the chief has looked at the plan and has had no concerns or issues that he's brought to my attention.
I have a quick question on the ID verification system.
Yes, sir.
Not that it's not an overly huge concern, it's just really an inquiry. I know that at some liquor stores, when somebody presents an ID that's out of state, it poses an issue. Is this security system meant to prevent or to identify people only from in-state? Or is it, so somebody visiting from out of state
Sure.
goes in, is that a problem for them, I guess is my question.
No, it's not, and it checks any state. And it's not just licenses. There are other valid forms of identification. You can use a passport, a military ID. It has to be a valid, acceptable form per state regulation. So the Cannabis Control Commission has really done a good job in the state of Massachusetts rolling out the regulations for this industry. And I haven't seen anything more strict and stringent than what's in place here in Massachusetts.
And is it the customer themselves who checks that, or is it the security person who?
Oh, it's a security, so there'll be on-site security. I didn't mention that, but I know it's in the PowerPoint, but there'll be on-site security at the facility during all hours of operation. The other thing I didn't mention, in terms of the video surveillance system, the police department will have real-time access to that, so we'll load a video software client in the police station on their dispatch center, and they'll be able to access that video surveillance system at any time.
I had just a quick question about the electronic ID as well. Does that track how much the person's buying or how often they're visiting the facility, or is it just a validating the ID?
Just validating the identification. Any other questions on that?
So there's no data collection at all? There's no data collection at all?
No, there is no data collection. One thing I didn't mention, Ryan, if you could pull up the floor plan. I wanted to mention, in terms of the secure delivery process, one of the things that we feel is an extremely important aspect of our security is really to protect one of the most vulnerable parts of an operation like this, which is the delivery process of product, right? And cash. So we have built into this facility a secure sally port that a vehicle, the delivery vehicle or armored vehicle to transport cash can drive into and deliver product or pick up product. That's one of the security features that I think is worth mentioning, because it really does mitigate as best as you can the transportation process itself. And these vehicles that deliver the product, they have GPS in them, they have panic buttons in them. There's always 2 agents in the vehicle. There's always 1 agent in the vehicle whenever there's product in the vehicle. It's a very tight, again, regulated by the state process that I know Mr. Morey has really added that safety feature in terms of the sally port as a way to enhance our security process. That is not a requirement of the state, but it's something that me as a public safety professional had recommended to him, and I know he was more than willing to do that. We really want to make this location, as safe a location in your community as possible, and really be a good partner in your community, a good business partner.
And the outside too, Mike, the lighting and back there will all be lit up, by the river,
right.
The whole area.
We'll enhance the lighting on the entire perimeter of that facility, obviously in line with your local codes and ordinances in terms of lighting, but that's a requirement. It's like I said, going to be a surveillance system. That video surveillance system will surround that entire building, and not only just monitor the parking areas, but also provide situational awareness of beyond the parking areas. So the neighboring businesses that abut that particular property, there's a security advantage to having that access to the video surveillance system, again, which the police will have real-time access to.
Relative to, a couple questions, relative to the lighting, have you been in touch? I want to be sensitive to the neighboring
Sure.
people who live in the apartment building that was just recently built, and relative to light pollution, especially at night. Have you been in touch with the property owner over there to talk to him?
Is that something you?
We have not. We're going to try to do that just prior to the submission of the application for special permit.
Yeah, I think that will be, and I imagine this will all have to be reviewed at the planning board
Yes.
level as well. So that would be something just to be concerned about,
Sure.
just because people are living there.
Right.
Of course.
Understood. We simply want to provide enough lighting that makes the parking area safe.
Yeah, and I get that. The second question, is the footprint of the building exactly the same? Or is it expanding out at all?
When you say exactly the same, you mean one level?
Well, I figured, I see this video, so I assume it's one level, but
Yeah, so it's
but
about
is there an
16,000.
expansion on the building at all?
There's a 16,000 square foot existing industrial building, of which we're only occupying 3,900 square feet of that. The remaining, the balance will be continued, it'll be mothballed essentially. And obviously up to speed in terms of code and all that sprinklered, but only the front portion of the building of about 3,900 square feet will be built out for a dispensary.
And my issue isn't really with the internal part of the building, really, it's just with the infringement. If, I want to make sure we're not infringing closer to the river than the building already goes.
There's no exterior expansion at all, it's all
That's
interior.
my question.
Okay, it's all interior fit out.
Thank you.
Okay.
I had a quick question about traffic plans. I don't know if that is if that's more of your purview or more of the police chief's purview, regarding, we've seen obviously in the news, the traffic issues. Hopefully as more open, that'll be a little bit more relieved. I know there's a lot of space back there, but it still could bottleneck or whatnot. So do you have a plan for that?
We're taking a proactive approach in everything that we're looking at here in the Commonwealth. So one of the things that we'll be doing early on is identifying an alternative location to transport potential customers, whether it be shuttle, a number system. But early on, the first 60 days, we'll work with the community in making sure that we provide enough parking or service to the facility without adversely impacting the downtown or the traffic. Right now, we have 40 parking spaces that'll be restriped and impervious. that we're not going to impede upon anything outside of what's already paved. But we will have a plan in place for traffic.
And the other, just to add to that, we'll work closely with the police department on that. If we plan to hire police officer details for as long as necessary to help mitigate that issue as well.
I mean, we're highly cognizant of what's going on. The good news is that by the time this facility opens, there will have been a variety of new stores online throughout the Commonwealth. So I think that the newness of the industry will have dissipated a little bit, and people will geographically go to the area that they're actually closer to, as opposed to everybody traveling to Western Massachusetts or a Leicester, which I'm sure half the Commonwealth didn't even know that a place in Leicester existed in Massachusetts until that opened. But regardless, we're cognizant of that, and I think that in addition to the safety of the facility, we want to just touch a little bit on the safety of the product as well, coming from Littleton, and as it's transported from the Littleton facility in the nondescript vehicle that the chief talked a little bit about into the Sallyport. There's no open packaging. All the packaging is hermetically sealed. Everything is prepackaged at the facility, transported in nondescript boxes, and it's brought into the facility. So in terms of some of the other questions that people have had, well, what about the smell and so on and so forth? The truth is that it's a hermetically sealed package. And so, there's none of that. There's no open container of anything in the store. It's simply going to be buying you could see it because it's sealed. And then I think the other piece of what we want to talk a little bit about is some of the things that we've thought about is just trash, right? People say, well, what are you going to do with trash? It's not going to be product. There's going to be nothing that's in the dumpster or in the trash that people could get their hands on, because if there's an issue with the product and people want to bring it back, it gets put into the secure location in the facility, and it goes back to Littleton, where it's destroyed at Littleton. So there's going to be, we've really thought ahead and wanted to make sure that we at least checked some of the boxes in our minds that a local official may ask, and I think in a proactive way, we just wanted to put our best foot forward to the community in the form of this presentation, in the form of the PowerPoint, in the form of sort of our design. But this is by no means the last conversation. This is just a continuing conversation, and if the planning board or if anyone on the select board have any concerns or questions or additions or deletions, we're happy to do that, because we want to be as engaged and proactive as we can to ensure that we mitigate problems in the front end and not have to respond to them on the back end.
Excuse my ignorance on this particular question, because everything's so new about this whole, the whole business plan and everything else. Is it part of the law that requires a facility like yours that they contract, for lack of a better phrase, with one distributor? Or will there in the future be distributors from, somebody that might come from a different location, not the place in Littleton or a place somewhere else?
Well,
or is it required by law?
No. Tom has the unilateral right to choose whomever he wants to do business with. So there'll be products out there that aren't necessarily produced or packaged in Littleton that he'll get elsewhere. Because there are alternative cultivators out there. Right now there's about 27 in the Commonwealth, but most of those cultivators are stockpiling their own product for their own dispensaries.
It's an unusual scenario to Tom's credit. He's really done yeoman's work to be trained in the industry, to be a part of the distributors organization in the context of actually understanding it, and they had enough confidence into him to actually sign a distribution agreement, which is not a usual scenario. To Jim's point, they're vertically integrated. They've got their medicinal, and then they're selling into their own adult use. Fortunately for Tom, he has a different scenario where it's being transported to and from, and it's an exclusive distribution agreement. So.
Okay, and as far as you know, well, as of right now, the plan is for that to continue on.
For Tom, yeah, absolutely. But he's not hamstrung by one distributor. As he grows, if there's another scenario, then by all means, he's more than free to do that. And then economic benefit, it's a pretty, the Commonwealth regulates that pretty significantly. It's 3% of gross revenue. We anticipate and the community actually has an ability to tax it at 3% as well. We anticipate somewhere in the neighborhood of, fingers crossed, $10 million per year in a generation in terms of gross revenue. 3% of that is no small number, and then the additional 3% in terms of the local tax as well. From a municipal standpoint, we really are committed to hiring locally. wherever possible. So there'll be employment opportunities for local residents. It'll be a pretty extensive training process as well. We're just not going to hire someone who knows nothing about it. They'll have to be trained in a very significant way, in very uniform ways, to understand the products that are being dispensed. Tom is also committed to, if he's not available, if he's not available on the premises, a manager on the premises will be a point of contact at all times for the municipality, for the town administrator's office, for the police chief in general, to ensure that, again, proactively addressing an issue when it's raised, as opposed to having to deal with it 24 or 48 hours later. So, for lack of a better phrase, a local community point person on premises at all times. And then those are sort of the final, those are the sort of the four big topics. But again, this is your meeting to a large extent, and we're glad to be here. We want to be able to answer your questions.
So do you have an idea of the process? How long does it take for the approval process? Any idea?
A lot of it can be done concurrently from the state process along with the local process. So once Tom does receive the host community agreement, they'll have a certification form that needs to be filled out. That is then sent along to the CCC, the Cannabis Control Commission, and that commences that process, which takes upwards of 60 days. But concurrent with that, Tom will be working with his engineers and architects and submitting a special permit application.
Okay.
Depending on your schedules, it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 months, I would presume, after the holidays.
The products themselves, there's been a lot of talk and concern about edibles and how edibles, and I'm not an expert on this at all, so I'm sort of asking generally, first off, are edibles going to be part of this?
Edibles are a component of sale, yes. Yeah, they represent between 35 and 40% of sales. That's what we see elsewhere in the country. We're certainly very early on in what's transpired here in Massachusetts, but they are an important component of the offering. There's a lot of customers that come in that don't necessarily want to smoke it or vape it, and there's tinctures out there, there's capsules. There are certain edibles that are great alternatives for people to take the product.
And my comments have nothing to do with whether or not it's good, bad, or whatever. It's really just the concern of, like, I've heard people concerning about it looking like candy, that children would, even if
we
their
try to
parents-
stay away from that to the best of our ability. We certainly can't reference it as a form of candy, but they're in hermetically sealed containers. They are secured. They're tamper evident, so no kid's going to be able to really open up our packages. But aside from that, again, we have security on premises. Everybody is going to be reminded of the fact there's no on-site consumption. And
Very clearly labeled. I think it's important. The state regulates labeling. The state regulates dosage. So I think people know what they know and they don't what they don't. And in a medicinal scenario, you can absolutely get in a medicinal dispensary a much higher dose. But generally speaking, these are very, very strict metered doses. And so it's pretty clearly labeled, and it's a nondescript. And and as much as we can make it as safe an experience for someone who's coming into our facility and taking it out, we can. The level of responsibility, once it leaves the facility, is really on the person who purchases the products. Just like alcohol, I have to.
Same thing with like oils. I've heard that there are
salve alternatives, for pain.
That will be part of the sale products.
Yep, but again, those again sealed.
Yeah.
And they'll be infused.
There's a variety of offerings. I mean, just for the purposes of the conversations, a variety of offerings that have no psychoactive component whatsoever. All the psychoactive part of it's extracted, and all the medicinal benefit is there, and that will be offered as well. So, I mean, you could spread it on toast like butter and eat it if you so desire. You wouldn't, and it would not make you high. So it's a really significant educational experience, and that's why Tom is going to make sure that all of his employees are as educated with the product as possible, because just as we need to understand what we're selling into the community, so too do the people who are coming in need to understand what it is that they're purchasing. And so that interaction, that one-to-one interaction, particularly initially, is going to be important. So it's not a scenario where 100 people are going to come into the store all at once and sort of meander around. It's a very, very highly regulated, to Mike's point, process where they have to get their ID checked before they can even enter the premises, and they can reject anyone based upon anything. There's not a requirement that they have to let them in. And then if someone's obviously intoxicated, they're certainly not coming in. And then they're escorted into the dispensary
Keep in mind,
area.
the product isn't available on tables or shelves. It's basically the product is stored behind the POS system. So you'll be working with an agent on premises.
It's like going to Best Buy to buy
Pretty much, yeah.
a phone or something.
That's right. We
Very
take down the
similar.
order,
Very
we go to
similar.
the POS system.
It's like a jewelry store, really. I mean, we put it away at night, we bring it out, during the, morning to sell it, so.
And in terms of execution of sale, about 35% of our sales are cash. The remaining are done with a credit card or debit card with a PIN number. So there's a lot of people that think it's all cash. It's not. It's come down considerably because of the alternatives.
And one of the things that I've done, part of the team is a registered pharmacist who will be available for certain hours for people to come in and talk and explain things. We're very big on education, obviously. We're going to have programs. So again, I want you to feel real comfortable that we're going to strive to be the best operator in the state. We're going to do things that really aren't required, but we want to do it right. And I think that, as I mentioned, taking the big step with the big building, with the parking spaces, we're just going to continue that, mindset as we open the operation.
So is the infrastructure right now in place for opening, let's say, for an opening day, or not
But
yet?
once we get our building permit, it'll take between 60 and 75 days to build out
Build
the
it up?
interior.
Okay.
Can I ask you why Maynard? What about Maynard was it that attracted you, other than the fact that we were open to having a business
A
come?
big part's a population base that will not otherwise be served. A fair amount of the community surrounding you have opted out of recreation. And Tom, being a local guy, wanted to really be part of this community. And after viewing multitude of locations, I mean, my job is on the real estate side, specifically site selection. We came up with this as a great alternative in a safe environment, set back off the street, in a controlled environment. So that was a big reason for that.
Any other questions, folks?
Thank you. Look forward to working with you guys.
Thank
you very much.
And happy holidays to everybody. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I do. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, we have to make a motion and then vote. They want to wait.
We have the host agreement.
We have to make a motion. Wait till they're gone. Gotta make them,
Yeah, no.
yeah, I'll just wait till they're gone. I don't have to wait, I guess.
Obviously, the date will change. Date on the
Nobody asked the chief any questions.
This is October.
Yeah, this is October.
It might be.
It's a
Yes,
standard.
if anyone has any questions for the chief.
Yeah.
And I'll make this motion, and the motion is that we move to approve the host community agreement with Green Star Herbals, Inc. for a proposed registered marijuana dispensary to be located at 24 Main Street, Maynard. Can we have a
Second.
David, thank you. All right, any discussion? Anybody have any questions for the chief while he's here? Yes, Vic?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, are you going over correspondence?
We will. After we
We're
finish
not done
this.
here yet.
We gotta finish this one item. Then we're going to go back to this, we're gonna go backwards again into the.
Okay.
Chief, do you have any thoughts on this whole operation and how it will affect us? And
No, not initially. Greg and I went down and did a survey with them, get a walkthrough. There's, obviously the traffic concerns that we're going to have to work through. That's probably the biggest issue. I think the site's good. It's off-street, and it's secure and it's independent, which is ideal for this, I think, especially with the off-street parking. So I think it's a good location. We're going to have to work with them to make sure it's exactly what we're looking for on our end.
I might watch too many action movies, but is there any concern about the fact that it's a one-story building with a flat roof coming in that way to go after product and cash?
No, so the CMR,
Yes, yes.
the regulation is.
They have lasers that cross
Yeah,
one
they
another.
could. The CMR in this is, there's so many details that they're required to meet.
Okay.
And they went over every one of them. I mean, they're required to meet all those when you start reading the regs. So all that stuff is covered, all the security, the multiple alarm systems, the dual camera systems, the off-site. So they have to, as one example, is they have to have either a secure room or an off-site location to store all the data from the video so that we'd have access to it. So that stuff's all in the regulation.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's pretty thorough.
Will their alarm system be tied in
I
directly
think he
with?
said.
I know he said the video system would
Both,
be.
probably.
We'll get notified, and they have dual alarms. They're required to have 2 independent alarm systems, so there's a backup. But yes, their security plan includes us as immediate notification. So we'll work through that with them and how that's going to work and like how we're going to have access to all that stuff.
I'm personally more concerned about the other site than this site with
that's not on
for
the
Nason,
agenda.
but I'm not, that's a different
They're
story.
very different
They're
locations,
Very much so.
and there's different concerns with each one, so I agree. All set?
Okay, I think so.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, so, any other questions, concerns? All those in favor of accepting the agreement? Okay, yeah. All right, going backwards. All right, now we're going back to our correspondence items for this evening. I make a motion that we move to accept and approve the 6 correspondence items, A through F, as shown.
Second?
Thank you. Any conversation about the 6 correspondence items, A through F?
Vic, did you have?
I don't know.
Just wanted,
Did you have a comment about a correspondence? You just want to know if we were going to do it?
Vic?
Vic? No?
No. No?
Okay.
Yeah, I got a couple of 3 questions on the correspondence.
Okay.
On tax rate recap and also levy limit. Has Department of Revenue approved the tax rate that you voted? And was the recap what it should have been? And did our assessors do the job properly is what I'm saying.
Yes. Yes.
That's good, okay. And you have given a written warning to the Blue Coyote Grill. And how many violations have they had over the past number of years? Usually we keep track.
I think this is,
None?
Chief's here.
Okay.
None, but they
That's
haven't had
good,
any, which
glad to
was
hear
the
that. And also,
that was the reason for the recommendation for the written warning, is they haven't had any in the 6 or 7 years that we went back and looked.
well, that sounds good. Also, on the Finance Committee, I was wondering if I could get a copy of their letter, because it seems to me as though, we've already had a town meeting, the article has been approved, and now the Finance Committee seems to be kind of nagging away at something, and I don't quite know what it might be, but it would be interesting to find out, because, my experience has been, when citizens petition come before this board, all of a sudden the citizens are not welcome. And that is the honest to God's truth. Why, I don't know. But I would like a copy of that letter if I can get it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your indulgence.
all right. I'm pretty sure. Anybody have any other comments about item number 4?
Yeah, I mean, to Vic's point in regards to the letter that came from the Finance Committee, I actually like the steps that were proposed to us. I think it's something that we could use as a starting point for us to, or use it like a little roadmap. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to read the recommendations.
I feel like we do a lot of it.
Yeah, I know, but I just think that he kind of put it in such a way, they put it in such a way that it's, my only concern, this is just my concern, from a standpoint of us being so-called water and sewer commissioners. A lot of times when we make decisions in regards to that, is that something that we need to kind of separate ourselves from being selectmen and be, or do, is that the same dual roles?
Part of the job.
No, I'm just saying, do we,
But I think it's part of the, it's
like,
part of the
take our
response.
hats off from selectmen and put our hats on as commissioners or water commissioners? I mean, how does that work?
I can give you my, you're looking at me, would you like my?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Mr. Chairman, if you allow. It is both because as selectmen, you are also providing the budget to the town.
Okay.
And this has significant budget implications. Not necessarily for if we do one house, that's not going to impact. But certain projects, which this seems to have been a response to, could have that significant input, similar to rates that you will approve for this year. So, in which case you would be wearing both hats, and it is convenient to a degree to have the selectmen act as the commissioners for those services. But you do bring up a good point that in a way you should be requesting or reviewing the professional consultation of the DPW director and other sort of consultants to make sure that you're making sound decisions as the water sewer commissioners. Because you're selecting, you're not those commissioners necessarily. And we don't have a separate water district like the other towns do. And so, right, so in other words, there's pros and cons, but I think the system, it doesn't come up very often in the first place. And when you do it, we'll make sure that you get all the information you need to make those.
So I know that decision was made many years ago, that we did have at one point in time, from what I understand, water and sewer commissioners, or committee, or whatever it was called. My concern is that, you know, Aaron's a one-man show, so it's difficult at times to, you know, go to him because he's got so many other things going on, to understand the, you know, the intricacies of the system itself, you know, like where it is going to break one day, or what the anticipation is down the road, what's going to happen from a maintenance standpoint. So those are my concerns, my personal concerns, that, you know, we are going to come across that one day, that we're going to anticipate that. So is he prepared to tackle that task? You know, that's just my concern, my personal concern.
It's a valid concern, I share. And I asked him those things. When I was first introduced to him and his department and sort of his grasp over the water and sewer systems, he did review it to me. And we do heavily rely on the consultants that we contract with to provide that professional expertise. Because he's the only one in.
Right.
And he has a certain background, but he relies on those experts. And I have certain confidence in those consultants providing that expertise to him, which we provide to you. And so I'm comfortable with the system as it is, but I understand that you should have some, you should provide that scrutiny, and that you should not just blindly approve things as the public would expect you to. You should expect to see those consultants provide you the recommendations.
Okay.
I suppose if the issue comes up again, we'll be able to use the Finance Committee's letter as a guide. But as of right now, there's nothing before us, so nothing to apply it to. It's a well-written letter. I guess that's all we can say at this point, you know? I mean, but when we come to a point where there's something before us or a suggestion before us, certainly it's a document and a piece of paper that we should, you know, refer back to. And I mean, you know, I don't know that it was necessary, because I think the five of us all understood, based on the conversations in this room prior to the special town meeting and the vote of the special town meeting, what the town's, you know, thoughts and feelings are towards those type of things. So, but it, you know, it does provide a little bit of a outline for us if we ever have to get to the point where we make one of those decisions.
My thoughts are that the outline that's provided relative to steps or whatever is not unique to water and sewer. I think every decision that we make as a board should include, you know, whether it's development, whether it's economic development or other planning, should include an establishment of what the steps are in the process to get us there, a strategic plan as to why we're doing what we're doing, where we're going to, a cost-benefit analysis, a transparency in all deliberations and discussions on the topics, and input from the community. So this outline is not unique or special for water and sewer. This is an outline, from my perspective, on how the Board of Selectmen should operate.
I kind of think we do that, though.
I'm not suggesting we don't.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that particular piece of business, the correspondence items? All those in favor? There's some consent agenda. Consent agenda items, there are 3 of them. Make a motion that we move to accept and approve the list of 3 consent agenda items, A through C, as presented.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on those 3? Boy Scouts appointment slips and cemetery deed.
If there's an invitation for the selectmen to attend the Boy Scouts thing, I would love to,
Yes, yeah.
love to attend.
Yeah.
It's in the letter somewhere.
I know, Justine, you've got a lot of connections with the Boy Scouts as well.
I've watched these guys for 7 years.
And so perhaps,
proud of them.
yeah, so maybe you should just take it.
Oh, I would go anyways, so if someone else wants to, but it is up to whoever.
Yeah, when is it?
It's January 7th.
January 7th. So actually, it's right after our next meeting, right?
A week after, yeah. All right.
January 6th, I'm sorry.
It is a pretty good, it
January
is,
6th at 1 PM at St. Bridget's.
yeah, it's a nice event.
Yeah, it is, especially when it's at the church. It's very nice.
Is it inside the church or the rectory?
It says the ceremony is in the church, yeah. It's at the church. It's not very-
Justine, you and I can talk about it.
Okay.
No big deal,
Sounds
if you want to go. I just, I know these guys and I want to, especially their parents and whatever.
I should just co-present it.
Co-present.
You did and I did that one. It works.
Could do that.
2 of you is better than 1.
All right.
Excellent.
Someone else can go and we can present one each. Anyway, all those in favor of accepting the correspondence items, the consent agenda items? Thank you. Set the, really, we're already at the point where it's setting the annual town meeting date? So it says that we would make a motion to move to approve the annual and special town meeting dates, time, and place as Monday, May 20th, 2019 at 7 PM in the Fowler Auditorium. A second.
Second?
Any conversation about this, since we have to do it by charter?
Could you repeat those dates again, Mr. Chairman?
Monday will be Monday, May 20th, 2019, and if there's special, we would make it probably be the same night if, so Monday, May 20th.
Monday, May 20th is the regular meeting
In the special,
and the special.
yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
7 PM, Fowler School Auditorium.
Hope we get a quorum.
Everybody in favor of that date, May 20th, 2019? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Town Administrator's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything extra?
You can see it's pretty heavy. Again, I want to compliment the staff for providing all the great inputs and kind of conveying to the town, which they've all left. Anyway, but, no, so they trust me to give credit without them being present. I mean, Becky's here. Everyone knows Becky's great, so that's, yeah, I'm sorry. Becky does great. I meant to, I'm sorry, Becky. Okay, I'm sorry. Can I just, a couple points to this, just to emphasize, mostly just to say publicly, the town hall's hours for, hours of operations, I just stuck with what the employees' contractual guidelines say, which is, it'll be regular hours on Friday, December 21st, closing at noon, and a half day, that's this Friday, and then a half day on December 24th, closing at noon, and a full day on December 31st, so 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I also want to compliment those members of the board and the other sort of public bodies in the town for attending the Minuteman's Advisory Group on Interlocal Coordinations Metro. It's a planning session meeting that we had at the Battle Road Brewery, and it was well attended by representatives of a number of surrounding towns. It was a good conversation, but I was mostly proud of us to be able to show off the brewery, show off their own Maine, and some folks that have never been there, never seen the sort of redevelopment of the mill. It was a great opportunity, and we got to show off, and I was pretty proud. And then I also want to compliment the communities or the community that's particularly impacted by the Winton and Parker downstream project on Walnut and Great Road in Park Street. I'm gonna get that one wrong. Parker. It's a lot of work, and I understand that it's could cause some delays, and it's asking a lot of people to kind of go around it, but it would be really helpful to continue to improve on our infrastructure, particularly for sewer.
I guess the schools have had some issues with getting students there on time. Yesterday, I think it was, when there was a significant delay in getting students to school.
And I heard that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an announcement that went out basically telling people, hey, there's road work going on. I guess 80% of the kids made it to school on time, but the other 20% were late.
Yeah, yesterday was particularly backed up on 117. I don't really know why. It hasn't been too bad. The first day was a little terrible, but after that it wasn't terrible when I was driving it, but.
I can look into it. I wasn't aware, so thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, they came out, emailed to parents.
There's never traffic.
All right.
Okay.
And then one of the last points, Mr. Chairman, is I also want to commend he's left, but the police chief, Dr. Voss, he has been named the president of the Northeastern Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council, NEMLEC, which is a pretty large organization in the Commonwealth. We just had their holiday luncheon the other day. I was invited, and it's a pretty significant accomplishment that he's been honored in that way to represent all these law enforcement in all these states and these counties. It's pretty impressive. But he left apparently before I come.
Yeah, he left.
He doesn't like compliments.
Doesn't want to hear it.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So, I don't know. Well, Vic took some thunder, probably that more than one of us shared, about complimenting the students on the WAVM Beacon
yeah.
Santa. And I will also reiterate what Vic said about the parade. I didn't have anyone complain about the lighting because it's at night, and I guess people were expecting it to be dark, but that there were quite a few people that did mention that it was kind of odd to have cars on the street during the parade.
Okay.
So,
No, I think it's valid feedback.
so it was just an interesting aside. So that's that. And the only other question I just have, it's just an issue. I just want to know, is looking at the schedule for January, I just want to see if anyone has any objections moving the January the 15th meeting to the last Tuesday of the month rather than the 15th.
So what would that change be, Chris?
From like the 15th to the 29th. Just push it back 2 weeks.
So, and the first meeting's on the 2nd?
Yeah.
Correct.
Are we okay with going 3 weeks plus without him?
I don't know if there's anything on the agenda that's gonna be,
So, right now, Becky, what do you think? Becky starts drafting agendas. Do you know of any reason why we wouldn't be able to push it?
No, I actually have drafted the joint budget meeting for Greg to
right,
review
'cause
with
that's the
Chris.
date.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be in February
Mhm.
9th, so that could potentially be on the schedule for January 2nd to review. If
Okay.
not, it will go on the 29th, so either or is good.
Okay.
So we just move take the 15th out?
Make it the 29th if no one objects.
No,
I'm okay.
Okay, great, thanks. And that was it for me. I just, again, I'm just blown away consistently every year that I go, and then to watch the totals come up through the weekend at the Beacon Santa Telethon.
Yeah.
A pretty fantastic event that the town has every year. Armin? anything?
Couple of things. First of all, I was happy to see the flag flying again. So that was a good sight.
I don't know if it didn't blow away last night. It was pretty
Yeah,
windy last
The wind
night.
was really nasty
There
last
was some
night.
howling last night out there.
And then I attended the last master plan steering committee. It was a very fruitful meeting, and every single one of ours was tasked with an actual work. So we're gonna have to. You saw that? Yeah. So we all gonna have to relay or be like a liaison to the committees that we're gonna go out and just get some information based on baseline goals, recommendations. So I thought that was a very fruitful meeting.
David?
My only comment is to wish everyone Merry Christmas. and Happy New Year. Look forward to 2019.
So you're gonna be wearing on the 2nd, you're gonna be wearing your New Year hat, right?
Right. Still
Noisemaker,
still
come up and
partying.
Should be there.
So, yeah. So
Are the bowl games gonna be over by then?
Merry
Yeah,
Christmas
right.
and Happy New Year.
Same to you, sir. Justine?
Not too much. I had a meeting today as a liaison to the Capital Planning Committee, Capital Planning Working Group, which was very good. It was working was a way to put it. I admire how much work goes into this, and so I appreciate that. And the other thing is, and I thought this was very cool, just because it's our little town, but last night, one of the employees of the Pleasant Cafe won the Food Network Holiday
that's- yeah,
Baking
yeah.
Championship.
Yeah, you
Yes.
posted it and I noticed it, it's awesome.
It was
Very
very
nice.
cool.
He's our
So-
pastry chef.
Yeah.
Is he there? Is he
It was
there?
aired last night.
Is he their pastry chef?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does he just do pastry there?
He's also a teacher at like one of the community
Oh, okay.
colleges, I think like North Shore.
He was consistently above. I watched it from the time,
That's
from,
cool.
from day one, and he was consistently on top. And someone actually posted it yesterday. They videoed, they actually showed it obviously at the PC last night, and they videoed the response, because he couldn't say anything. So,
That's pretty cool.
so everyone found out that he won at the same time, which was very
Yeah, I
cool.
think
So.
Mr. Chairman, you can invite him whenever you want.
What?
You can invite him to come and.
Coming.
Yeah,
I made chocolate chip
Yeah.
cookies last night myself, so I was proud. I didn't win any contests though.
Get a ribbon?
I got nothing.
So that was very cool.
I got a pile of dishes to wash. All right,
They're
Melissa?
questioning whether or not they were edibles.
They were good. No edibles. There's none of my cooking.
I think his cake might have topped your cookies. It had a Christmas tree inside of it.
Yeah,
That's edible,
just
so-
not, that's not on my radar.
Pretty awesome.
That was very cool.
I'm happy when they don't burn.
It was great. The only thing I was gonna say is just a reminder to people that the street parking ban is in effect for the winter, and it's really hard for DPW to plow when people leave their cars
Yeah.
on the street. So just try to be cautious of that.
Hopefully,
Actually, to piggyback on that, even when you don't think it's going to snow, like last night a squall came through.
Yes.
And, so they actually had to salt and sand this morning. And, you wouldn't have thought I don't think there was snow in the forecast.
Right. No.
I bumped into
In
myself.
reality,
Oh.
you're not supposed to park on the street
Right.
at all,
Exactly.
regardless, so.
Right, yeah.
All right, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Next meeting is on January 2nd, which is a Wednesday.
Which is a Wednesday.
Don't come
Don't come
on
to
New
the
Year's Day.
it's a good thing you mentioned it.